I'm driven by seeing people succeed. If we can succeed as a company and they can benefit as a result and take it to their family, that's my driving force. There has to be a better way, and my job is to find it. They give me a check for serving on their board. I say, I really should give you this check because I learned 3 times what I gave here because of all the smart minds that are in this meeting. Throw a rock in a pond, focus on the strongest ripple, and then start going out territories. So we are doing some of the things we're doing good for customers that are within a 2-hour range. We're doing the same for customers that are 8 states away. It starts with getting good ideas from your people, getting good ideas from your customers. When you marry those things together, then you can take off.
How can we learn from the leaders, educators, and experts in our industry? What can we take away from their successes and failures? How can we apply this to our businesses, our careers, and our lives? This is what we are here to find out. I'm your host, Karthik Chidambaram, CEO of DC Cap. We make systems, talk to each other for manufacturers and distributors. I love to learn and share the knowledge with others. This podcast is about having meaningful conversations that we can all learn from. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. We are here in Russia, Ohio. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I thought it was Russia, but then Doug told me it's Russia, Ohio. And we are joined by the CEO of Superior Aluminum Products, Doug Borchers. Doug, thank you so much for joining the Driven podcast, and great to be in your little town, and thank you for joining the conversation.
Thanks for coming to visit us.
Can you tell us about Superior Aluminum Products? What do you guys do?
Oh, okay. In the big picture, we make architectural aluminum products for the construction industry. So anything, mostly exterior, anything on an exterior of any type of building that is made out of aluminum, we're probably involved in making something like that. So it may be things like aluminum railing, aluminum support columns, aluminum vents, and we're getting into all kind of other aluminum exterior products.
And you manufacture them completely here in the US, and 98% of the products are sourced here in the US.
Yeah, so most of our sourcing comes from the US. We're the final fabricator assembly of the end product. We buy our raw materials from various extrusion mills from around the country. One of the things I didn't mention earlier is that my father's partner owns a sister company across the street from us. They make all of our aluminum castings. So they buy bars of aluminum, melt them down in a kettle, pour that liquid aluminum, and they pour it into molds, and they make all of our parts for us. So all of our brackets, bases, anything, so on, is actually made by our sister company across the street, who actually owns half of our business also.
And your products are used at multifamily homes, government agencies, and many other places. And contractors are mostly your customers, and you also sell to distributors?
Yeah, so I would say the volume of our business goes through distribution to their individual markets there. On some of the major projects that are multifamily type projects, we may work directly with the general contractor.
So Doug, I mean, yours is a very, very inspiring story. I want to hear a little bit about your background. So you grew up in this little town.
Yeah, I grew up here, and when I turned 18, I told my father that I'm going to college and I'll never be back to this little town. And after I graduated with my electrical engineering degree, I went to work for Eaton Corporation and started in Milwaukee and worked for them in various cities. Eaton Corporation is a fantastic company, gave me a lot of opportunity for training, actually put me in a junior leadership program that I went to corporate headquarters once a quarter and had some advanced training and so on. Eaton really treated me well. Family came along, and we now have 7 children, but by the time we had 3 or 4 children, when you're in a major corporation, they like to move you every couple of years. And my wife decided she don't want to move anymore. She wanted to put roots down and raise a family. So I went to work for one of Eaton's distributors. They were called Dickman Supply. And so I got to still continue to work with Eaton Products through as their distribution arm in the territory.
So Eaton is where you got your manufacturing experience, right? So that was the playing ground for you?
Correct. That's correct. So Eaton, you're familiar with Eaton, but they're a major player in electrical power distribution and automation business. And so I got background there. I also got some sales experience there. Worked in some field offices and worked in conjunction with the factories on some projects.
So from Eaton, you moved on to Dickman Supply, right? Electrical distributor.
That's right.
So then when you started, I think the revenue was like around 4 million or something, and you took it to 60 million, but you were not the owner of the business.
Well, I didn't take it to 6 million. We took it to
yeah. So I think that's awesome, right? So, but that, obviously leadership is very, very important, right? So when you were in the company, right? So you guys grew from 4 million to 60 million. So that's where all the distribution experience happened.
Yeah, what was really cool about that, not only did I get distribution experience, but our customers were most of the major, not just electrical contractors, but the manufacturing plants in a 12th county region that we serviced. And so I got the chance to be inside of many of these manufacturing facilities and get ideas and borrow good practices from them, bring those back to our own company, and got some experience also belonging to a national association. It's called NAD, National Association of Electrical Distributors. Got an opportunity to sit on some boards there, sit on the boards through our marketing group, and borrow ideas from the best around the country, bring those back to small town Ohio and implement some best practices.
Yeah, I just want to ask a little bit on the board experience, right? Because I think this is a question a lot of people have. So when you were on the board of NAD, but when you serve on boards, right? I mean, that gives you a lot of exposure and opportunity. Is that why you serve on boards and you're also able to contribute and give back? Can you talk about that experience a little bit?
In the end, yes. I guess I didn't realize that starting out. I was asked to serve the industry for the betterment of the industry, and I said, I'm happy to contribute. But what I found out, for every one piece I contributed, I was bringing back 5 or 6 ideas to my own company. So the true benefit was what ideas I brought, because I was sitting in a room around a big table like this with the best and the brightest from around the country. They were doing creative things in 8 states away. I was able to bring those ideas back to our company, and our team would implement those.
You know what I mean? I like to say, think like an owner and act like an owner and execute like an owner, right? So that's also a very, very important constituent of a culture. But that's exactly what you did at Dickman, right? So though it was not your company, you were the CEO of Dickman.
Well, no, I was vice president.
Vice president,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah. So you were the vice president of Dickman, but pretty much, one thing I kind of thought was very, very interesting is when you go to these conferences and all that, they tell you, they were thinking you were the owner of the company, you were necessarily not the owner. That kind of made you feel there was a little bit of pride in that as well, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize they were thinking that until when I left the company after 19 years. They said, how can you leave the company? You own it. I said, oh, I don't own that company. I don't own any of the company. They're like, what? We always thought you owned the company. So that was kind of a cool comment that I would get from peers, because that meant I was portraying, that I was taking ownership of our actions.
Superior Aluminum Products is a business which your family and Tom's family started, and then you decided to come back. Tell us what happened.
This business was started by my father and his partner, Tom Francis, in the 1960s. I was a little shaver back then. It grew from less than $1 million to about a $10 million business over a 40-something year period of time. The business was still successful, but it wasn't growing like it used to. He asked me to come back to maybe inject some new ideas into the business, because the shareholders knew and understood there's something out there for us. We got to figure out how to do that. And they said, you're making money for this other guy and you're helping grow his business. Bring some of those ideas to us and let's see what we can do with our business. So I told him no a couple of times, because I really enjoyed what I was doing, and the owner treated me very well, and I was happy, and I was going to finish my career there. And my father kind of tugged at my heart a little bit and said, we need you. And so finally I decided to do it, which I swore I wouldn't do when I was 18 and I left this town. I swore I'd never come back. And there it was.
Very interesting. And under your leadership, I met your team as well. Amazing team. And thanks for also giving us a tour of the entire facility. I think it was a treat to watch how you guys operate. But it was from 2016 to today, you have almost grown 3 times, right? So tell us through that transition here, right? Because I think this is something I relate to as well, right? So sometimes the business gets stagnant for whatever reason. All of us want to scale, right? All of us want to grow our businesses. But then sometimes you get stagnant and you need maybe a fresh set of perspective to kind of take from where you are to kind of get into that growth mode. That's exactly what you did. Maybe I would even call it a turnaround, right? So they bring you in and you're able to turn this around. So what are some of the early things you did to drive this change?
Well, I would say probably 2 major things. One was there was a lot of talent in this building. There was a lot of talent when I started, but maybe we weren't getting all of the thoughts and ideas out of the team. So we had to create a culture of, we need everybody's ideas if we're going to grow. So that was one piece of it. The second piece of it was we have to go understand not just what have our customers always bought from us, but what would they buy from us if we were to do certain things? What is my customers paying? What happens on your job sites? And that my involvement could make that better. And if you open the floor up to them, they'll tell you all they're paying. Now your job is, after you collect all this from customers and prospective customers, come back and put a strategy in place to help the customer solve his pain. And sometimes that's not about the actual product. Sometimes you need new products that you didn't know you needed. And so a lot of that it starts with getting good ideas from your people, getting good ideas from your customers. When you marry those things together, then you take off.
You're listening to your customers, right? You go visit customer sites. Another thing I thought was very, very cool is, when you started, pretty much the first 2 weeks you spent at the shop floor.
And some of that was culture related, and some of that was my engineering mind wanted to know how stuff goes together. So I think I shared with you earlier, I'm not very mechanically inclined. I was probably the worst assembler on the floor those 2 weeks I was out there. That's okay. But I got a chance to work beside everybody. I got a chance to know who they were, who their families were, what makes them tick. And I also got a chance to put together all the products we had. And as important as anything, to see some potential improvement areas in our system. How do things flow? How does paperwork flow? What kind of things potentially could we do better? So I wanted to see that front hand, not just assume anything sitting in an office.
Where do we go from here, right? So, you've built a great business. And then what is the next, right? So what's the vision for the future?
A couple of things. In fact, we just had an all-company meeting yesterday to roll this out for our strategic plan for this year. It comes in a couple areas. One is we are expanding territories. Without getting too much detail, we call it a ripple theory. Throw a rock in a pond, focus on the strongest ripple, and then start going out territories. So we are doing some of the things we're doing good for customers that are within a 2-hour range. We're doing the same for customers that are 8 states away now. So expansion of territories. As we're doing that, we're finding other products that are ancillary products to what we're already building. And they say, hey, can you do this? We can't find a good source for the awnings over our doors. You're already building all these other external aluminum-based products. Can you build us an aluminum awning for these doorways? Because then I can put one purchase order into you and you can take care of the things I need. We have 3 new products scheduled for this year that we're going to design and start selling. It comes along with building relationships with customers and them asking, what more can you do with me? We like the interaction of doing business with you. Can you do some of these other things?
Tell us about the T-Day hubs. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, T-Day hubs. We talked about that when we walk around out the shop. Every Tuesday and Thursday, first thing in the morning, each group, there are 4 different departments out in our manufacturing floor. Each group gets together with their foreman, and they have a list of things they go over. What's going well? What kind of things can we improve? What new initiatives are going on in the company? And they meet anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes every Tuesday and Thursday. Today at the T-Day huddles, senior leadership went out and picked a different huddle and sat down with them to discuss yesterday's strategic plan rollout and how does that affect them and what questions do they have and what ideas they have based on what was discussed. So that's a 360-degree feedback method that we love to use.
The theme of this podcast is driven. And how are you driven?
I'm driven by seeing people succeed. I'll get emotional about it, but these people, our team, fantastic people. We talked earlier, a lot of them are farmers, but just very good people that I want to see them succeed with their family. And if we can succeed as a company and they can benefit as a result and take it to their family, that's my driving force.
You talk about your people, just for our audience, your people are also farmers, like you said. They start work at 6 a.m. in the morning, finish up at 2, go back to the farm, do some work there, and then finish off the day. Right?
Yeah.
But I would like to end with this question. There's a lot of change happening around us. What are you reading right now, or how do you keep yourself updated with all that's happening around?
So a couple areas. First of all, I'm a big reader. So when my family goes to bed, my wife and kids go to bed 8:30, 9 o'clock. I'm reading from 9 till 11 o'clock when I go to bed. And I'm trying to, we have the fortune of having an organization around us here called Aileron. And it is a training center, a think tank training center of business executives that go there to roundtable discussions with each other about business challenges. So these people don't have anything to do with the aluminum fabrication business like we do. It doesn't matter. They have business challenges that I've probably faced myself. They have market insights as to what's going on out there. So I'm kind of a sponge of what's going on and how might that apply to us. So, and I think I'll be that till the day I die. These people will tell you, I'm sending out articles, I'm sending out snippets from articles and so on. Can this apply to us, to my HR guy and my controller, to my sales manager and so on? There has to be a better way, and my job is to find it.
And you also serve on board of other companies as well?
Yeah, I sit on the board of 3 other companies. In fact, I'm leaving for Cleveland tomorrow for one of the companies I sit on the board of. And I always tell the owners when I sit on their board of directors meetings, I say, and they give me a check for serving on their board. I say, I really should give you this check because I learned 3 times what I gave here because of all the smart minds that are in this meeting. So again, I bring those ideas back to our company also.
It's been great chatting with you. I want to thank you for your time, and I really enjoyed this conversation. I enjoyed my visit to your little town. Thanks a lot, Sujat.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for joining our Driven by DC Cap podcast. Your support means a lot to us. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the like button and subscribe. Consider leaving us a review. Thank you for joining us.